He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just dropped to his knees. 14 years old. Alone in the living room. His mother's body lying still beside the broken plate she had just carried. The clock on the wall didn't care. It kept ticking. But everything else, the whole world, froze. She wasn't breathing. Trevon placed one hand over the other, like he had seen once in a video, and pressed into her chest. Too soft, nothing happened. Too hard, she might break. He had no way of knowing what was right. Still, he pressed. He counted out loud. 1, 2, 3. He told her to come back. Whispered it over and over like a chant. His knees burned against the tile floor. The phone lay next to him, still on speaker. The dispatcher's voice was calm, steady, like a thread holding him together. But nothing was changing. No cough. No breath. No flicker of movement behind her closed eyelids. He pressed harder, harder than he thought he could. He imagined her telling him what to do. He pictured her standing up, brushing herself off, laughing at how scared he looked. But she wasn't standing. He whispered her name again. And again. It had been a regular Thursday. The kind where everything feels like it always does. Trevon had dropped his backpack by the front door. Kicked off his sneakers. She was humming. A song from church. Then her voice cut off. Not slowly. All at once. A sharp crash followed. The plate hit the ground. Her knees gave out. No warning. Just silence, and then wait. He turned the corner and saw her on the floor. Eyes shut. Lips parted. Time didn't slow down. It just stopped being useful. He reached her. His hands hovered over her. Shaking. Searching for something to hold on to. He grabbed the phone, dialed 3 numbers, and nearly dropped it again. The operator's voice came through, calm like it was reading from a script. But this wasn't a scene. This wasn't TV. He had never practiced CPR. But he listened. Closely. Closest he ever had to anything. She told him to place his hands in the center of the chest. Lock his elbows. Push with his body. He did. She didn't respond. He was told to keep going. Don't pause. Don't look for signs. So he kept pressing. He didn't know if it was working. He just knew it had to. The kitchen timer went off in the background. The grilled cheese had burned. The smell filled the room. But Trevon only saw her. Only heard the voice telling him, "You're doing great. Just keep going." And that's exactly what he did. His palms were slipping. His arms ached. Shoulders burning. Chest tight. But he didn't let go. The voice on the phone reminded him, "Push hard. Push fast." He obeyed. Not because he believed it would work, he had no way of knowing that. He obeyed because giving up was never a choice. He leaned forward, counting out loud, every number landing like a promise. 21, 22. No one else spoke. No one else moved. He glanced once toward the door, hoping for flashing lights. Nothing. Her face hadn't changed. Her chest hadn't risen. But he pressed on. Not for hope. Not for reassurance. But because that's what sons do when they're all that's left. He remembered things she told him. To try first before saying he couldn't. To finish what he started. To never walk away from someone who needed help. And in that moment, she needed him more than anyone ever had. So he became stronger than he'd ever imagined. His voice cracked, but he didn't stop counting. He whispered her name, like he could pull her back with it. Mama. He wasn't crying. He didn't have the room. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Each one dragged behind it a weight he could barely carry. But he did. From the outside, it looked like a boy hunched over the body of someone he loved. But from inside, within every beat, every count, every whispered plea, he was waging a war against silence itself. There was a sound. Low at first, then rising. A siren. Trevon didn't lift his head. He didn't stop compressions. He had learned by now, survival wasn't loud. It was steady. The floor beneath him felt colder than before. His elbows locked tighter. His breathing turned shallow, mechanical, like the rhythm he was giving her. Outside the window, red lights bounced off the neighbor's porch. Then, footsteps. Heavy, urgent, trained. Doors slammed open. Voices shouted. They took over quickly. One moved him aside. Another leaned down. Another checked her pulse. But they didn't push him away like a child who'd gotten in the way. They asked, "How long has she been down?" He couldn't answer. One of them looked at him, not through him. He nodded slowly, like he understood something deeper than Trevon had words for. Then it happened. A flicker. A shallow inhale. The smallest movement, barely a breath, but it was there. Machines clicked on. Oxygen flowed. A bag was placed over her mouth. One of the paramedics turned and said 6 words Trevon would never forget. If he hadn't started when he did. That sentence hung in the air, unfinished. Because the ending didn't need to be spoken. It was clear. She was here because of him. He hadn't rescued her with strength. Or knowledge. Or practice. He had done it with refusal. Refusal to give in. Refusal to sit and wait. Refusal to believe that he was too young to matter. In the blur of the hallway, as they wheeled her out, one of them told him. "You kept her heart going." And in that moment, Trevon realized, he hadn't just been her son. He had been her lifeline. The hospital ride was silent. Trevon sat beside her. One hand gripping hers. She didn't squeeze back. The medic glanced at him once, no words. Just a look that said, "We're doing what we can." Inside the emergency room, they separated them. He didn't argue. He just stayed where they left him. A nurse brought him water. He didn't drink it. The clock on the wall said 3:07. It had been only 20 minutes since she fell. They wouldn't tell him anything. Only that she was being stabilized. That she needed rest. He wanted to believe them. But all he had were flashes, her laugh from that morning, the way she called his name when dinner was ready, the soft way she brushed lint off his jacket before school. Now she didn't move. She didn't open her eyes. She didn't speak. He sat there for hours. Never asking for updates. Never leaving that chair. At some point, someone tapped him. A nurse. "You can come in now," she said gently. He stood. Legs stiff. Heart louder than his footsteps. The room smelled like antiseptic and quiet hope. She lay there, pale. Fragile. He stepped closer. Took her hand again. No tears came. He had no more to give. Then, without warning, her eyelids fluttered. A soft sound escaped her lips. He leaned in. Her voice cracked through the silence. Just one word. "Trevon." She didn't say it like a question. She said it like an answer. She left the hospital 7 days later. No damage to the heart. No permanent loss of oxygen. No one could explain how it all lined up in her favor. But Trevon didn't need a reason. He already knew. It had come down to seconds, his seconds. He'd given them without thinking, without flinching. Now, every time she sees him walk through the front door, she says the same thing. "There he is, my miracle." He laughs, brushes it off. But there's something different in the way he carries himself now. He walks taller, but not for show. He listens more closely. Smiles a little longer. And every once in a while, when things go quiet in the house, she watches him, just for a moment, and remembers the sound of his voice counting out loud. That rhythm didn't just save her. It stitched together everything they almost lost. The story made its way through the neighborhood. A teacher mentioned it at school. Someone at the gas station said they'd heard what he'd done. But Trevon never repeated the details. He wasn't chasing applause. What he held onto wasn't the praise or the attention. It was the fact that, when everything stood still, he didn't. No uniform. No training. Just instinct, love, and a decision. A decision to stay. A choice to try. And a heart that refused to stop beating, until hers could find its way back. Heroes don't always wear badges. Some just kneel beside someone they love, and refuse to leave. Trevon didn't ask to be tested. But when the moment came, he answered without hesitation. So now the question is simple. If that day ever finds you, what will you choose to do? Like, comment and subscribe.